According to Nordic mythology, the ash tree is the tree of life. It was kind of almost worshipped.
Ash is an important wood for us. Many of us in the SFMA like to work in ash.
We will lose a large population of our ash as it succumbs to ash dieback.
I think what's important is that we make the best use of this material while it's here. There are resistant strains and they will start to come through, but at the moment we've got a stock of mature trees that are dying.
Well, just imagine a world without trees. Unthinkable, really. We've been through this with Dutch elm disease, and this feels like the start of that process all over again.
Human beings would have struggled without the ash tree. And we've got to remember how important and integral they were to the progress of the human race. It was an integral part for cartwheels. You couldn't transport anything without a bit of ash in the cartwheel. You couldn't catch or spear anything. So on so many different levels, the ash tree is really important.
Without exaggerating, I think it could be argued to be one of the most important trees that we have in our culture. I think fundamentally one of the most important things, and if we boil it all down, ash is an incredibly strong timber along the grain. So you can cut a relatively small cross-section of wood and maintain a huge amount of strength. That strength will also have a bit of flexibility, a little bit of give. These sort of very specific attributes of that timber, that material, really lend itself really incredibly well to so many uses.
It's a valuable tree. It's a different tree to have in the landscape. It's quite an open canopy. The leaves drop very early in the year and break down very quickly. So quite often you'll associate bluebells growing underneath ash. So it's a lovely tree to have around. And it sustains an awful lot of different invertebrates, birds and other fungi that live on the actual tree itself. So it's a really good tree from the biodiversity point of view to have in the environment and in our forests.
It's a real addition to the ecosystem and biodiversity.
You've got the hollowing out of ash trees, so birds love nesting in ash trees, bats love roosting in ash trees, lots of insects feed off an ash tree. So on multiple levels, the ash tree is pretty much the tree of life.
Ash is sort of all over our hedgerows and parklands, farmland, and it's a real integral part of our landscape. And it's dying off.
We're in a crisis point with the environment and wildlife and nature and the equilibrium between humankind and nature. Are we actually doing more damage to the earth than we realise? And is the ash dieback reflective of the planet Earth and nature?
Ash dieback is a fungal disease that has come in and is affecting the ash trees in the United Kingdom and Scotland as well. It originally came in from East Asia. It's come into our country where our ash trees are not used to it, so it's having quite a major impact on our trees.
It would be a crying shame, if not a disaster, really, if ash went off the menu.
You know, it's all in the name, ash dieback. It starts from the top and it goes down.
It's affecting a huge percentage of the population of ash that we have growing here. You know, this is something that's been around for a couple of hundred years. It's witnessed all sorts of things quietly, without showing opinion. It just observes. You know, we've got a resource that, for a while anyway, is about to run out, and it's a historically important resource and a beautiful resource, and it's really undervalued at the moment. And I think that if we can, you know, sort of shine a light on it as a really quality material, generate a bit of interest, and you know, and make more things from ash that the public will hopefully buy, then that's a good thing.
This wood is coming down anyway, so why not convert it into something useful? So from my point of view, this is passion. This is what I get quite excited about.
Yeah, good to go.
Okay, Gus. Well, it's going to be a while before the thump, because he's got to do the gub and the back cut.
That's okay, no worries.
I don't think anyone really likes chopping trees down. You know, certainly trees of this sort of stature, these great big giants of the countryside. To see one of these trees being chopped down, it's quite lamentful. You know, it's not an enjoyable thing to see, and you do feel a sort of sense of loss when it hits the deck. You know, there's that sort of anticipation that everything's happening, and you know, all the gears going and the chainsaws are going, and then Dumph. It's quite sad. It's not actually until you then start the next process that you start to sort of see the potential. This stuff is available for us to make really beautiful things and for people to enjoy for years and years and years. But at the moment, it's just potential. We don't know what it is yet. If you fell a tree, or if a tree dies and falls over in the wind, it'll rot into the ground, and you know, the life of that tree is gone forever. The carbon disappears into the atmosphere. Whereas if we as furniture makers turn it into something useful and beautiful, it'll be treasured. Memories will be made around it. I think making furniture with wood is a really truly beautiful thing to do. And if it's useful and if it's good furniture, it'll last as long as furniture as the tree lasted in life. You know, and that's the sort of, you know, the forward life that we can give to a tree after its death. I really want to show the processes involved. You know, people buy a chair and they appreciate that chair. But me as a maker, you know, I really enjoy making that chair. You know, I enjoy the milling day. I enjoy the fabrication, the design, the noises and the smells of the workshop. And I think that consumers miss a lot of magic just by buying a chair. I always feel that a milling day is an opportunity to read a book that's perhaps 200 years old, the leaves of which have never been read. The story is told in the grain of the wood. A windy year will give you a different grain pattern. A dry year will give you a different grain pattern. A branch might have been snapped off and the tree will grow around that sort of broken branch. And these all sort of lend patterns and different tones and colours and things in the wood that you never know is there until you cut it open. You pull back the slice and there you have it. These stories can then be brought forward again, you know, when we turn it into furniture, and they'll live on forever. But it's that moment, that split second when you open up a leaf of a tree.
We expect in Scotland that we could lose between 50 and 70% of our existing ash. But what we want from our current ash trees is to see which ones are actually tolerant to this disease, so we can then breed from them for the future and keep ash in our landscape.
There's good work going on to accelerate the resistance build-up in trees, which means that, you know, ash does have a future, but when and how that looks is to be determined.
I think it's really good that the work that's being done to sort of, you know, monitor these resistant strains and propagate them, and to ensure that we've got a healthy population of ash in the future.
And it very much is a project to highlight ash dieback. Our particular role in that part of the project is producing pieces of furniture from ash and from diseased trunks like this. So we want to show what can be made of it, and then the public can appreciate how important it is and what value it has.
Ash Rise was a project that we sort of dreamt up a little while ago, thinking that we could bring furniture making to the masses was the genesis of the idea. And yeah, the plan is to show as many different furniture making styles, but also other styles of craft, you know, other art forms, other, you know, made objects, and really celebrate as many uses and as many sort of diverse aesthetics as we can get from the one tree.
But also to raise the profile of us as makers, as furniture makers, and bring a greater awareness of furniture making and what actually goes into it. I think that sometimes gets lost with mass-produced furniture, because you go to a shop, you buy a chair, and I'm sure you like that chair, but it doesn't really give you a feeling for what's gone into making that chair. And what we hope to show through the project is the craftsmanship and the skills that go into that, and they're skills that really shouldn't be allowed to die. They should continue, and I think they're going to be more important as we move on.